Autopen treason. It seems like the Democrats sold pardons while Joe took a nap.
If you were with us on the morning meeting, you saw talked at length at two stops before he went into the meeting with the House conference, talked to the media, and he talked a lot about this issue of the Autopen. All presidents use Autopen, but there seems to be a sense in the Trump administration that Joe Biden, and this is something Ed I think is working on, that Joe Biden used the or people used the Autopen to sign things on Joe Biden's behalf, including pardons that may be not legally, constitutionally permissible if it wasn't actually the president and it was some robot or whatever you call the Autopen. So here's number 3. This is a Truth Social post from the president about this topic. And again, he talked about it at length this morning. Joe Biden was not for open borders. He never talked about open borders where criminals of all kinds, all right, blah, 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 go through the process. It was the people that knew he was cognitively impaired and took that, and that took over the Autopen. They stole the president's of the United States and put us in great danger. This is treason at the highest level. So Ed, where did
Communists controlled the Autopen.
this start, this notion that the Autopen was improperly used, and what evidence have you seen for the president's accusation?
Well, I'll make a little news for you, Mark, here. I was in the office as U.S. Attorney for about 5 days when I wrote to a number of senior Biden officials in the White House saying, what did you know about Joe Biden's competence and the pardons? And I got some responses. And so I've been looking at this for a while. Again, I think that the question is more about competence. If you have someone who's not competent, they can't enter into a contract, right? And if you do enter into a contract, you've committed fraud. The question is whether you use a tool to trick people into entering into a fraud. So the Biden pardons are unprecedented. The ones right before Christmas that he did, people forget this. I think it's a couple thousand pardons that were done. Did he know about that? Did he really understand? Look, the pardon power is plenary, but the guy has to be competent to do it. Now you come forward to this question broadly of the Autopen. Autopen's completely obviously legal if you're competent. And there must be a trail that shows who was in charge of the Autopen. I know this exists. Like, I worked for a governor. We had a system for an Autopen to be able to use it. And so right now we have unprecedented conduct, the pardons, unprecedented admissions, the books as well as the staffers. I had a whistleblower in my office 10 days ago, senior Democrat, saying, look, it was these 3 people that controlled access and they were making money off of it. I don't know if I believe it yet.
This is the biggest scandal in United States political history. They were selling access to freedom for money while the president had dementia and wasn't in control of the United States.
Yet, but the point is, I think we have to get to the bottom of it for the American people and to protect the process, and that's what we're doing. And by the way, make it all the way to the bottom. It may not be criminal, but it certainly should be a scandal of the first order, maybe in human history or maybe American history. I sound like the president there, but in American history, to have this kind of conduct.
Ed, I'm from Maryland, not North Carolina, so I'm not that bright. Did I miss what the news was? You said you'd make news. What was the news you made?
The news was that nobody knows until that I was writing to these folks at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and including the Biden family. I don't think anybody has seen that. So my point is, I'm bragging about being there early. Everybody got to this 120 days later.
Did they reply, or you just sent them letters?
No, they didn't.
What'd they say?
A couple of them lawyered up, and one of them wrote directly. I won't talk about what they said.
And can you and you probably won't tell us, but can you characterize who the whistleblower was? It someone who worked in the Biden White House?
Biden campaign, 2020 campaign at the highest levels.
2020, and who are the 3 people they said were doing this for money?
This is the one who's let me say it carefully. Yeah. The gatekeepers. Different characterization of who was using the access, but the gatekeepers were Klain and Anita Dunn and Bob Bauer, and those 3 were really dominant characters in the White House. Ricchetti a little bit, and obviously Jill, but I think that was the 3. I was with this person, and I said, "What about Susan Rice? What about some of these others?" And they said, "No, these were the ones."
Okay, I will politely and gently tell you his name is pronounced Ricchetti.
Oh, okay.
Soft.
These 3 individuals probably started the war in Ukraine. She's a communist, like hardcore Chinese Communist Party worshiper. And there they are looking at their source of power, their source of evil. Let's take a look at what she said about her hero.
And then the third lesson and tip, actually come from two of my favorite political philosophers, Mao Zedong and Mother Teresa, not often coupled with each other. But the two people that I turn to most to basically deliver a simple point, which is you're going to make choices. You're going to challenge. You're going to say, why not? You're going to figure.
This is just going to reveal how evil she is, what she's about to say, and the extent that they were willing to go to destroy the United States for their agenda.
Figure out how to do things that have never been done before. But here's the deal. These are your choices. They are no one else's. In 1947, when Mao Zedong was being challenged within his own party on his plan to basically take China over, Chiang Kai-shek and the nationalist Chinese held the cities. They had the army, they had the Air Force, they had everything on their side. And people said, how can you win? How can you do this? How can you do this? Against all of the odds against you. And Mao Zedong said, you fight your war and I'll fight mine.
She basically just said, I will do whatever I have to do to destroy the United States, take down capitalism, and bring my version of paradise that never existed in history. The Chinese killed between 50 million and 100 million, or the Chinese Communist Party, rather, in its pre-existing state. So what are they going to do to see if this is a real theory or a fake theory? They're going to start indicting people. I don't think this is all talk. We've already had a U.S. Congresswoman, a sitting representative, arrested. The grand jury has already indicted Letitia James. She's facing 30 years. I don't think this is fake.
Yeah. Now, knowing what you know,
she's very quiet. Let me see if I can tune her up.
This guy didn't even know when he was vice president, according to those firm tapes.
I think it is. Autopen
got a new
usually
audio
requires
system.
Initial or signature approval from at least 5 people before you can actually approve the Autopen. For example, the attorneys need to approve it, policymakers need to approve it. It needs to be approved, then ultimately the president needs to approve it, and then the person is allowed to use the Autopen. We've found out.
Okay. You probably can't hear that. I've got to figure out this new audio system I got, but it should be a lot better. The old one was for non-live stuff. It didn't work very well. So yeah, this whistleblower is so terrified of getting life in prison. Democrat top operative 2020 Biden campaign comes forward and says, hey, they pardoned Fauci and Milley for money, possibly. So Milley may have bought his way out of treason. And you just think about this. This is the thing our founders feared the most, that some faction would grow so evil they would destroy the republic for the sake of power. This picture represents it. We had a Autopen for a president. Biden likely had that prostate cancer diagnosis for a decade. There are 5% of people who don't show elevated hormone levels, but 95% of men for that type of prostate cancer, they do. And it takes 10 years to get to that level. And either you don't go to a physician for 10 years, or if you're the president, they get tested for everything, like OCD. Obama got this test, and doctors were skeptical of his doctor because Obama was so young. So we know that Biden almost certainly had the test, almost certainly knew he had cancer while he was running in 2020. Crazy stuff. In other news, Trump is discussing making Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac public institutions. They're kind of quasi-public-private right now. Newt Gingrich says it pretty well. January 17th, 2,490 commutations. Now, just counting to 1,000, I think takes roughly an hour at average speed or something like that. if you're cognitive of all of these individuals, you've read their names over several weeks, okay, fine. But that's the constitutional bare minimum. Some say that the staff has to do a bunch of procedural stuff. They tried to use that argument against Trump, but Article 2, Section 2, the executive branch is controlled by the president, whether, Biden cheated or not, which I believe there was not good things that happened in 2020. I'll leave it at that so I don't get shadow banned. But yeah, we're going to see probably some indictments coming soon. More and more. I did not expect it to go this crazy. But I just wanted to bring y'all the news. If you hadn't heard it earlier, I'm going to hop off. I'll catch y'all soon. Have a good one.